It's time to put the good in your morning. You're watching the KOAM Morning News right here on Fox 14. And today, the Chiefs lend the Lombardi Trophy to another team for a little bit.
The condition alert. Yep, we got it. It's going to be a chilly weekend. We got the latest from the Skywatch Weather Center.
And we have a conversation with Senator Josh Hawley. All that and more on the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. It starts right now. Thanks for joining us on the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. I'm Jesse Irwin. Freezing drizzle is making for dangerous driving conditions this morning as people prepare to make their morning commute. Joplin police say emergency road conditions are in effect, meaning Joplin officers will not respond to non-emergency accidents. And many school districts have canceled classes for today, including in Joplin, Carthage, Webb City, Pittsburgh, and dozens more. You'll see them on our screen and on our website, KOAMnewsnow.com. But first, let's check in with Mr. Hayslip for a little look at the weather. Michael, what's it looking like right now?
All right, Jesse, here's what we got. We got a mess is what we got. And the radar is going to come up kind of clear on everything. I do want to point out, bottom of our screen right there, that's your list of school closings. That's going to include also to organizations, businesses, activities, and whatnot. You can also go to KOAMnewsnow.com. Want to reiterate what Jesse just said about the emergency road conditions that we're experiencing from the Joplin Police Department. What that means, non-injury accident. Non-injury accident. We don't want you to have one. We don't. Something like that transpires. You exchange information with the other driver, and then you report it later. And the reason being is they've become overwhelmed with the amount of reports that they had from last night when the roads became so slick. Here's where we sit at the Freeman Health System sky camera right now. 22 degrees with a wind chill of 14. And I know, like I said, it doesn't look impressive, but when you take into effect the drizzle that we had yesterday and temperature down to 22, everything's frozen over for the most part, especially when you take I-44 and go to the north. It gets worse and worse and worse. And so that's why we've got a winter weather advisory in effect all the way until 6 o'clock this evening. What we'll do throughout to this morning into the afternoon hours, we're going to pay attention really to Wichita, because that's where we're going to see additional precipitation begin to bubble up and work its way from west to east. Now, like I said, nothing there right now. But temperatures, how about 11 in Fort Scott and 32 in Miami and Grove? We're all over the board as the Arctic air continues to press from the northwest down to the southeast. And I wish it were a dry air mass, but that's not necessarily the case, as we're going to pick up some snow and freezing drizzle down in the southern portion of the four states. On and south of I-44 is where we're going to see the freezing stuff. Everything up to the north of that, going to get some snow. And the winter weather advisories, they're going to stick around all week long because the precip's there, as are the freezing temperatures. Jesse.
Thanks, Michael. We'll keep in touch with you about this as we continue on throughout the show. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers won Super Bowl 55 last night, beating last year's champions, the Kansas City Chiefs. Tom Brady helped the Tampa Bay Buccaneers sail to a 31-9 victory over KC. Brady won his 5th Super Bowl MVP award. Brady, who's 43 years old, is the first player to win 7 NFL championships. On the other side, the Chiefs held out of the end zone all night, and it was their first double-digit loss with Patrick Mahomes as the starting quarterback.
They played better than we did, and that's my responsibility. I take full responsibility for it. You just can't do the things that we did and beat a good football team like that, in particular at this level.
We will have more on the game and hear from Patrick Mahomes in a little bit. The end of the Super Bowl is also the beginning of a long NFL offseason, and for a lot of us fans, that can be painful, especially when the postseason ends with a loss like last night's. Now, last week we asked some four-staters how they deal with football withdrawal.
It just is what it is. We just wait for the beginning of next season, I guess.
Hope the the Super Bowl when the Chiefs win and watch that a couple more times.
I just stay at home and I'm bored. I need something to do, but I can't do anything. It has to be football.
I miss it, but I don't hang on every word that everybody says going through the back season.
It's a long time until football season comes back, but we've got the St. Louis Cardinals.
So it doesn't matter to me if something's on, I'm going to be watching it. So I'm a big fantasy football fan too, and so I do that.
To doing the things I normally do, binge watching TV.
Well, that means it's time for baseball season.
I don't know, just keep cutting hair, I guess, and wait for the season to start back up.
I think Blake said it best with a Royal season could not come soon enough. But in other news this morning, a Columbus, Kansas woman is dead following a wreck yesterday. It happened at noon on Northwest Bethlehem Road, about 6 miles west of K7. A 54-year-old Pamela White was traveling west when her vehicle went airborne while crossing railroad tracks. When it landed, police say it went off the road, striking a tree. She was pronounced dead at the scene. An update on a police chase and crashes in Oklahoma and Missouri Saturday night. One trooper from Missouri and one from Oklahoma, who were both injured, are out of the hospital and home safe. The Oklahoma Highway Patrol says troopers chased a car on the Will Rogers Turnpike between Veneta and Afton Saturday night and used stop sticks to stop the car near the Miami gate. Now, authorities say the suspect got out and ran and then circled back and stole an OHP trooper's car. And the chase was on again from there. The suspect drove up the interstate and into Missouri and hit a Missouri Highway Patrol unit, injuring the trooper. The Missouri Highway Patrol set out spike strips once again, then stopped the stolen car and caught the suspect. At some point, OHP trooper Micah Geib left his vehicle and Geib was accidentally struck by a Missouri Highway Patrol car. Again, both troopers are now home from the hospital. The suspect has not yet been charged. The wedding industry is among those being hit hard by COVID-19. The Wild Iris Event Center had just opened at the start of the pandemic, and they were shut down completely for 3 months, but are now trying to reopen following COVID guidelines.
Yes, we were completely shut down for 3 months, and then now we are open, but there are a few guidelines that we follow and not as many people in your building as you would normally have.
Weddings are still happening. They just include more masks and more hand sanitizer than before the pandemic. A 106-year-old pianist says she's proof you're never too old to learn something new. Colette Mays, a 106-year-old pianist, plays some of her favorite classical pieces in her Paris apartment. She's been doing it since she was only 4 years old and released several albums. But she's still learning new tricks of the trade thanks to the pandemic. With cultural venues and concert halls closed, Mays has spent months inside honing her craft. She's learned to find inspiration pretty much anywhere, from people she speaks to on the phone to even clouds. Her advice for people struggling through a lockdown is to find a hobby that uses your hands and your imagination. This is kind of, I'll be honest, it's pretty relatable. I play a lot of keyboard and piano at my house just to sort of, go take myself into another.
She's 106.
World. And she's 106. So, I've got time to practice, but she's
Dude,
released
you know
albums.
I love you. You know I love you. Okay?
Yeah.
She's 106 and doing this.
Are you not impressed that I'm doing it at all? No? Not even a little?
You know what?
I'm not.
Let me know in 80 years if you're still plugging away.
I will call you and I won't say hello. I will just begin to play.
I like that.
I'll play Brian's song. That's the song that I play.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's my go-to.
I like that. That's good. That's good.
How is it outside? Is it still freezing out? Because the drive
No,
here
you're supposed to
was,
pitch to break. Read the T's and pitch to break.
Oh.
We have a winter storm warning. We already talked about emergency road conditions.
So you want me to go to commercial break?
Yes.
Are we going to come back?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
And we're going to do more weather. We'll be right back after this.
The death care industry has been impacted by the pandemic. Heather Good traveled to Brazil, India to learn more about how the coronavirus has been impacting their business.
Demand on death care workers has increased since March of last year. Employees here at this small family-run business in Brazil, Indiana haven't gotten a break since the new coronavirus pandemic took hold nearly a year ago. All 4 full-time employees are deemed essential.
We have 2 companies in one building. We are a casket distributor as well as a print media web design company.
Miller Casket Company distributes coffins across Indiana and Illinois. Timberline Industries creates personalized art panels and other materials for funeral homes and families.
I'm definitely busier with custom panels, especially around here more than anywhere else, about 2 or 3 times more than we normally would have.
The director of operations says there's been a massive increase in business in both areas.
The one thing that we did find surprising more than anything was the customization side. And it was surely because, unfortunately, many of these elderly people who have passed are alone and their families have not been there to be with them and be at their bedside. So the families are really making an over-the-top effort to memorialize their life.
It's been challenging for families to grieve the loss of loved ones, even if they did not die from COVID-19. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention is still recommending visitations and funeral services be kept small with masking and social distancing. For employees in the death care industry, the pandemic means business is good, even if the reason is not.
You learn to deal with it, and you just focus on the positive of, I'm going to do everything in my power to provide the best lasting experience for that family to remember their loved one.
The company is making more deliveries due to limited space at funeral homes and increased demand. Employees are now making deliveries to the same places up to 3 times a week. COVID-19 has brought staggering income losses to developing countries, threatening hundreds of millions of people with hunger and lost savings. Researchers at UC Berkeley studied 9 countries throughout Africa, Asia, and Latin America. Even in the first few months of the pandemic, 70% of households reported financial losses. The pandemic has also caused major disruptions to primary medical care. Canadian researchers found in Ontario alone there was a nearly 80% decrease in primary care office visits in the first months of the pandemic and a big increase in virtual care. And even when the pandemic ends, most Americans say they'll continue with health precautions. A national survey by Ohio State University found 72% of Americans plan to continue wearing masks in public, and 80% will still avoid crowds. A lot more colors lit up the sky over Denmark over the weekend. The capital city of Copenhagen held its annual light festival on Friday. Most of the 38 light installations are located in and around the center of the city. The popular event came as pandemic restrictions remain in place. Guided tours and lectures have been canceled. An interactive map is being used to help visitors navigate the city as they take in the lights. And this is the 4th year the festival is taking place. It will continue all month long.
I was not familiar with that, but it looks absolutely beautiful.
You know what it reminds me of? The forest lights that you can go see at Crystal Bridges Museum in Bentonville. The North Forest lights.
No, you just actually took the words right out of my mouth.
Have you been?
Yes.
It's beautiful.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
And it's a great activity during this. You get to, basically be outside.
And it's so cool to see.
It's really, really cool.
All right, Jesse, we have emergency road conditions in Joplin. What that means, non-injury accidents. Non-injury accidents. Instead of calling the police department because they're backed up. The roads are slick. I need everybody to be extremely careful. That means you're going to exchange information with the other driver. And granted, trust me, I tell you this, I don't want you getting that. Nobody, I want you to be safe. Let's give ourselves a lot of extra time. Let's give ourselves a lot of extra room. Let's do that. And that way we can all get through this without having to bother any police or sheriff's departments or anything like that. Because we do have a winter weather advisory that stretches all the way to 6 o'clock tonight. We're going to pick up snow to the north for later this morning into the afternoon, freezing rain along south of I-44. Those are our 2 key components, and it's just a frigid week. The good old-fashioned polar vortex, it has reared its ugly head for the middle of February here. Be back with more KOM Morning News on Fox 14 right after this.
The last few months, Senator Josh Hawley of Missouri has made national headlines surrounding the transition of power in the White House, the integrity of our elections, and the events at the nation's Capitol on January 6th. And this morning, we are joined by Senator Josh Hawley. Good morning, Senator. Thanks for joining us. I just want to start off talking about social media, and we're going to bounce around here a little bit. But, when it comes to social media platforms, when do you believe it's okay for a social media platform to suspend or remove one of its users?
Well, I think they need to have clear policies, and those policies need to be applied even-handedly. What worries me right now, we're in the midst of a major social media crackdown against conservatives. I mean, you've just seen dozens and dozens and dozens of very prominent conservatives, let alone folks who are just going about their daily lives, get kicked off of Twitter, get censored on Facebook, Instagram, and it's really a remarkable thing to see. And this is not an even-handed application of their own policies. I mean, they are clearly targeting conservatives and conservative speech, and that is a major problem. And the reason it's a big problem is because they're monopolies. These companies have incredible power. They own the market. Look what they did to Parler. That was the conservative social media app. These companies got together and canceled Parler in the space of like 2 days. I mean, that's power now. So they've got a corner on the market. They're using their power in a political way, and that's a big problem. They need to be broken up is the answer here.
Senator Hawley, last question for you. What feedback have you gotten from your constituents in Missouri since the January 6th events at the Capitol, and how do you plan on being effective in terms of representing them despite the negative response that you've gotten from a lot of your peers on both sides of the aisle?
Well, the negative response is all from the media, and then from the establishment, folks who have never been fans of mine and are never going to be. And that's just fine. I'm not there to represent them. The establishment has got plenty of lobbyists and talking mouths in Washington. They don't need another one. And they're certainly not going to get me to do that work for them. I'm there to represent the people of Missouri. And there's been quite a lot of data, actually. Folks have gone into the field and done surveys and done polls since in the last few weeks since January 6th and asked them what they think of my course of action, and it's been very supportive. I mean, very positive. So my view is I'm there to represent the people of Missouri. I'm not going to give in to the woke mob. I'm going to keep plowing forward and doing what I have done for the last 2 years, and as long as the people of Missouri will have me.
Well, we will continue our conversation with Senator Hawley here in a little. We'll be right back on the KOAM Morning News right after this. It's time to honor today's fourth-state hero. Private First Class James Hart served in the United States Marines for 2 years. He fought in Iwo Jima and received 2 Purple Hearts. His hometown, Stotts City, Missouri. We're proud to salute James Hart, a fourth-state hero. One Joplin area Patrick Mahomes fan took her admiration for the player to a new level and named her son after him. KOAM's Bronte Sorosky spoke with her mother.
Nicole Corcoran found out she was pregnant in the summer of 2019 and did what most future parents do, try and decide on a name. She was looking at Irish Catholic names and Patrick came into the picture. The Chiefs' win last Super Bowl only solidified this decision.
And I looked at my friends and said, I'll tell you what, if we win the Super Bowl, I will name him Patrick.
Nicole admires Patrick Mahomes and wanted her son to be named after someone she believes to be as genuine, kind, and giving as him.
Dover Patrick, I think he's going to be the future superstar. The more I, learn about what Mahomes' missions are, the charity work that he does, the more solid I felt about having, such a good role model to name my son after.
Dover Patrick's arrival to this world wasn't as smooth as Corcoran had hoped. He was going to need to be delivered as an emergency C-section, which can be life-threatening to the mother and baby. Instead, Nicole pulled off a natural birth.
The doctor was like, oh my gosh, he's running around going, have you ever seen that before? Have you ever seen that before? So, I feel like he's definitely a little miracle in my life. The fact that he's even here, and it's just the best part of 2020.
Corcoran says that although her son was born into a crazy year, she knows he's going to take after Mahomes and make an impact on the world.
I just hope that, he follows his namesake, looks for the ways to help people, focuses on health and wellness and community, and takes those passions that are also my passions, and I hope that he runs with it. Whether he runs with it with a football in his hand, or if he runs with it, with a gavel in his hand.
In Joplin, Bronte Sorosky, KOAM News.
So cute. Another half hour of news and weather just ahead. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14, a look back at the big game.
The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are Super Bowl champions. I'm Skyler Henry here at Raymond James Stadium recapping the game and how quarterback Tom Brady won his 7th ring.
It's just on loan. Don't worry, Lombardi's coming back. You're watching the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. We'll be back with more of our conversation with Senator Josh Hawley as well, right after this. Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. It is currently 7:30 a.m. Let's take a look at today's top stories. Well, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers borrowed the Lombardi Trophy last night, winning Super Bowl 55 and beating last year's champions, the Kansas City Chiefs. Tom Brady helped the Tampa Bay Buccaneers sail to a 31-9 victory over KC. Brady won his 5th Super Bowl MVP award, and Brady, who's 43, is the first player to win 7 NFL championships. On the other side, the Chiefs held out of the end zone all night, and it's their first double-digit loss with Patrick Mahomes as the starting quarterback. Chaos brewing in Joplin was among the local businesses offering 4-staters a place to watch the game last night, and they added a twist. They gave out a free pizza to any table that arrived by 5 p.m.
I mean, we're open every Sunday during football season anyway, but being that, there's so many Chiefs fans here in the area, we just wanted to give them, a place to come and hang out and, just cheer them all on together.
Hanging out with friends, and I come here all the time. I live really close, and it's always just, every single person at the bar right now is all good friends. And that's kind of what we're here for the most part, I would say. More than the game, not that we don't enjoy the game, but it's good to hang out with each other, I'd say.
Maybe they didn't enjoy the game as much as most, but togetherness helps with celebration or consolation. Well, World Class Sports held their annual J.L. Hutchinson baseball equipment drop-off. What a title, and a title that helps a number of families. It's even more helpful this year as the event was canceled last year. People were able to bring their new or slightly used equipment to World Class for families in need to use for the upcoming season. Donations included some of the obvious things like baseballs, cleats, pants, bats, bat bags, and helmets.
It's great. We love having it, and that's why basically we do it, is because we know that once you start buying all that gear, it can really add up. And so we want kids to have the opportunity to play baseball in Pittsburgh, and we don't want them to not play because maybe they don't have a glove or a bat or some cleats or something. So anything we can do to get more kids involved in our league, we're trying to do.
Families will be able to take home the gear starting February 13th. A Columbus, Kansas woman is dead following a wreck yesterday. It happened at noon on Northwest Bethlehem Road, about 6 miles west of K7. 54-year-old Pamela White was traveling west when her vehicle went airborne while crossing railroad tracks. When it landed, police say it went off the road, striking a tree. She was pronounced dead at the scene. An update on a police chase and crashes in Oklahoma and Missouri Saturday night. 1 trooper from Missouri and 1 from Oklahoma, who were both injured, are out of the hospital and home safe. The Oklahoma Highway Patrol says troopers chased a car on the Will Rogers Turnpike between Veneta and Afton on Saturday night and used stop sticks to stop the car near the Miami gate. Authorities say the suspect got out of the car there and then ran and then circled back and stole an OHP trooper's car. The chase then was on again. The suspect drove up the interstate into Missouri and hit a Missouri Highway Patrol unit, injuring the trooper. The Missouri Highway Patrol set out spike strips again, stopped the stolen car, and caught the suspect. At some point, OHP trooper Micah Geib left his vehicle, and Geib was accidentally struck by a Missouri Highway Patrol car. Again, both troopers are now home safely from the hospital. The suspect has not yet been charged. A Joplin home is heavily damaged after this fire Saturday morning. The house is at the corner of B and Sargent in the downtown area. No word of any injuries. Well, if you are heading to work this morning, be extra careful. The roads are definitely slick in some places. Joplin police say emergency road conditions are in effect, meaning Joplin officers will not respond to non-emergency accidents. And many school districts have canceled classes for today, including Joplin, Carthage, Webb City, Pittsburgh, and dozens more. You'll see them on our screen, also on our website at KOAMnewsnow.com. And let's bring in Michael to kind of talk about what's going on right now.
And there they are, Jesse, scrolling through the bottom of the screen. Remember, that's not only schools, that's going to be organizations, businesses, activities. So we're going to have that up all day long because we not only have ourselves a Monday morning mess, it's going to get a little bit worse.
Oh boy, okay.
So just in the last 5-10 minutes, here's what we've been starting to pick up here in the southern portion. Little snow and the freezing rain down there in northeast Oklahoma. That's rain on the southern portion of I-44, but with the colder temperatures on the backside of it, of 44, that's going to turn into some freezing rain and eventually snow as well. That's why we've got winter weather advisories for the entire 4 states lasting until 6 p.m. And then we're going to keep our eyes over here in Wichita. We've got multiple reports right there of ice accumulation. They call it accretion. I'm just going to call it accumulation is what it is. But anyway, now we're starting to pick up the storm reports as much as a 1/10 to about 15th of an inch, and that's serious ice there on the ground and freezing cold temperatures. So it gives you an idea that our roads and our road crews are doing an excellent job. It's just not going to be able to improve. We're not going to get that afternoon warm up. Yeah, the cold front. It's a polar vortex. Yeah, I know. It's been a while since we've been able to use the term, but it is. Look at these temperatures. I mean, that's just dangerously cold in the upper plains right there. As we get through the morning hours, additional snowfall south of I-44s, the freezing rain indicated in pink right there. Everything pushing off to the east, little break for the afternoon and evening hours on our Monday, but then we're right back at it Tuesday night. Reformulates, Gulf moisture moves up, our temperatures don't budge, and so we'll have more snow and freezing rain all throughout the course of our week as we are just mired in extremely cold temperatures, and our overnight lows are going to be dangerous as well, as much as single digits there for a couple days out of the week. Be back with more KOM Morning News on Fox 14 right after this. Tampa Bay Buccaneers wake up Monday morning as champions of Super Bowl 55. Tom Brady has done it yet once again. Our question, did you watch the Super Bowl and what did you think about it? Chad Kennedy says in the second quarter, it seemed every play had a flag. It seemed at that time the gas ran out on the Chiefs. Yeah, that was a weird quarter because it felt like they were letting them play and then all of a sudden they just came to a halting stop. Guy Hansen says, yes, I watched the Super Bowl. Democrat mediaites and the NFL did a great job orchestrating the propaganda. Dr. Biden guided Joe through the introduction and then off to a very well done Black National Anthem. This is part of the Make America Apologize Again tour. Race and identity politics colorfully laced throughout. Big Bird and his multicolored puppet friends, the Bidens, proved that all of the closed business, along with Sesame and Main, will open for Joe, and the streets will be filled with electric cars. Alina Marbin says, "Yup, go Brady." And Aaron David and Papito Ojos came in with a very, very similar comment there about recount the points since it came from Florida. Like, I don't know. Come on, we got to smile about something, right? Now. Our own Jesse Irwin had a chance to catch up with United States Senator Josh Hawley of Missouri. Part 2 of that interview is now.
Welcome back to the KOM Morning News. We are joined by Senator Josh Hawley this morning of Missouri. And Senator, thank you for joining us. Senator, you voted against certifying the election results. You have not voted in favor of any of President Biden's cabinet appointments thus far. Do you currently at this moment recognize Joe Biden as President of the United States?
Oh, I do. Yeah, absolutely. He's the duly elected president. He became, in my view, officially the president-elect on January 6th when the votes were counted before Congress, certified by Congress. He had a clear majority there, and he is the duly elected president. And listen, I've said that I view my role as the loyal opposition. I don't agree with the president on many issues. I'm really disappointed in how he has chosen to start his term. I thought he talked about unity and healing. I thought he'd try to find some ways to come together. That's not what he's doing at all. He's ruling by executive fiat. He has issued an avalanche of executive orders like we've never seen before from an incoming president, and they're radical. I mean, canceling energy jobs, canceling our energy independence, radical pro-abortion policies, stuff that's going to be very bad for Missouri farmers. You look at his climate policies. So I am really, really concerned. But, again, I view myself as making sure that I stand in opposition to the policies that hurt the people of Missouri, and that's what I'm going to do.
Yeah, so how do you plan on working with the Biden administration despite, questioning the legitimacy of how he got into office? I mean, there's still a desire to get things done. How do you plan on doing that?
Well, listen, I objected to one state, the state of Pennsylvania, during the Electoral College count. And I just point out that Democrat members of Congress have done the same thing many times, most recently in 2001, and then in 2005, and then in 2017. In other words, after every time a Republican president's been elected in the last almost 3 decades. So those Democrats, first of all, were never called traitors or seditious or any of the other outrageous lies that Republicans are now being called, and many of them went on to work with the president. So I recognize President Biden as the legitimate and duly elected president, and I hope that he'll be willing to reach across the aisle. I was somebody who fought for greater stimulus checks, relief payments for individuals in our state who need them for COVID. Bernie Sanders and I worked together on that just last month. And so this is something that I would hope that we could find common ground on. But right now, as we speak, in fact, the Democrats are trying to change the rules in the Senate so that they can jam through their agenda, including COVID relief, without any Republican votes. So I'm really disappointed by what I'm seeing so far, but we'll see. I stand ready to work with anybody to get stuff done for the people of Missouri.
So it sounds like you're still in support of having those direct deposit checks of $2,000
yes.
or $1,400?
I am. Yeah, I am. Absolutely. I think that is, I continue to believe that is the right course. I think that they ought to be targeted towards working families, of course, who need them. But I think that the people of Missouri and the country, working people, have borne the brunt of this pandemic, and they deserve to be first when it comes to pandemic relief and not last behind the corporations and the big banks.
Well, Senator Hawley, thank you so much for your time this morning. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, talk to you soon.
We'll have our full conversation with Senator Hawley on our website. We'll be right back on the KOA Morning News after this.
U.S. unemployment rate saw its first drop in 2 months, but there's still a struggle to bring back jobs. According to Friday's report, the jobless rate fell to 6.3% in January. Now, that did beat economists' expectations. 49,000 jobs were added to the nation's economy last month. And while that's good news, the country still down nearly 10 million jobs pre-pandemic. Congressional Budget Office predicting that the labor market may not return to its pre-pandemic levels until 2024. New research conducted shows that people working from home in several countries are putting in more hours than what they did before the pandemic. Now, despite getting to sit in your PJs all day, working from home actually may not be as relaxing as you thought it would be. Nordvpn found working from home led to a 2.5-hour increase in the average work day. This is for people that were in the UK, Austria, Canada, and the United States. Company says that it suggests that people are spending their family time working. A spokesperson for the company said that while technically someone could perform personal tasks while logged in, people do typically use their work resources appropriately while working from home. Academy Sports in Joplin spent much of Sunday preparing for the Super Bowl. Employees at Academy, they had hoped to have a full parking lot of Chiefs fans ready to buy Super Bowl merchandise. And, well, that wasn't the case last night. Pandemic has changed how they were planning to sell that merchandise anyway, though.
Academy has had Chiefs AFC Championship gear on the sales floor for several days in anticipation of setting out Super Bowl gear. Due to the pandemic, there's been some changes to how customers can get the gear.
There's a QR code that they're able to scan, and they can place themselves online, waiting in line online, and that way they don't have to wait outside the cold, and they can, we'll send them a message directly to their cell phone letting them know that they can come into the store.
Means says this rare opportunity is one they've been looking forward to all year.
Everyone's very excited about the Chiefs being in the Super Bowl back-to-back this year. Hey, with everything that's went on this past year, I think it's going to be exciting times, not only for Chiefs fans, but for us here at Academy.
Chiefs fan Spencer Campbell says he's already looking forward to next year.
I think it's awesome, seeing a team go back-to-back. The thing I'm looking forward to the most is maybe be the first team to get 3 Super Bowls in a row. That's what I'm looking forward to next year.
Campbell says he, like many, have grown up watching Tom Brady. But as Bob Dylan once wrote, the times, they are a-changin'.
You know, although I love Tom Brady, it's not a very common thing to say you love Tom Brady. It's always fun to watch him play. I think it's time for, you know, him to step down and let a new person be the GOAT, and that's Patrick Mahomes.
Of course, that was our own Chris Warner reporting right there. Now, Chiefs obviously didn't win, but the Academy staff, they have to ensure the boxes of Super Bowl gear are secure, and then they have to ship it back to the supplier. All right, we'll come back with more KOM Morning News on Fox 14. We're going to continue a little post-Super Bowl coverage. Jesse's back right after this.
I don't know if you guys heard, Tom Brady is 43 years old. Well, he is the oldest player to ever win the big game, and he's now 7-3 in Super Bowls and says he's not quitting yet. Skylar Henry is outside the stadium last night and has more on the game and the healthcare workers in the stands.
Announcer jinxes. Here's Brady's pass. It's Gronkowski.
Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers took the lead in the first quarter of Super Bowl 55 and never looked back.
Fournette, touchdown.
The Bucs thrashed the Kansas City Chiefs 31-9 behind 3 touchdown passes by Brady, including 2 to his former Patriot teammate Rob Gronkowski.
I think we knew this was going to happen tonight, didn't we?
Meanwhile, the Bucs defense pressured Chiefs quarterback Patrick Mahomes all game long and held Kansas City to just 3 field goals.
They beat us pretty good. The worst I think I've been beaten in a long time.
43-year-old Brady remains undefeated against Father Time, winning a record 7th Super Bowl and 5th MVP.
We're coming back.
We're coming
You
back.
know that.
Tampa Bay was the first team to play the Super Bowl in its home stadium. About 25,000 fans were in the stands, including about 7,500 vaccinated healthcare workers.
Not the outcome anyone wanted, not the game anyone wanted.
These Chiefs fans from the University of Kansas Medical Center were disappointed in the game, but like the fight against COVID-19, remain optimistic for better days ahead.
It's been a rough year, but I think all of us in healthcare are going to build it back. We're going to come back stronger, and we're going to do the same with the Chiefs, right?
The entertainment for the night included Eric Church and Jasmine Sullivan, who sang the national anthem. The Weeknd performed the halftime show. Skylar Henry, CBS News, Tampa.
Well, Tampa Bay head coach Bruce Arians becomes the oldest head coach to win the Super Bowl at 68 years old. Eric Church and Jasmine Sullivan, who sang the national anthem, The Weeknd performed the halftime show, which brings me to a quick question for you, Mr. Hayslip.
It is seriously like they don't trust you and me together in the studio. As Liam, our incomparable camera operator, was counting down to the very last second, making sure that we didn't say, anything about the Buccaneers that would be caught on camera.
I know. Well, you know what? I think. Sorry, I gotta ask you about the halftime show. Were you a fan?
I like The Weeknd. I love his story.
Yeah.
His story's, absolutely tremendous. I thought it was well done.
Okay.
I did.
Yeah.
I'm backing off of this, man.
No.
No.
I just want to throw this out there. Watched it.
No.
I thought it was phenomenal. I post on Facebook.
All right, I got winter weather advisories.
Okay. All right. All I'll say is this. There was a mixed reaction. I thought it was great, and then I've seen so many people have mixed reactions. This is not important. How's the weather outside?
This is Hayslip running for the hills.
Why? This is not a controversial question.
We got winter weather advisories in effect for the entire 4 states up until 6 o'clock tonight. Here's what we currently got working. We got a storm report out of Bartlesville. 0.3 of an inch of ice. That is serious ice accumulation. 0.3 of an inch is not messing around. And so as this gathers throughout the course of our day, we're going to get snow to the north, freezing rain along and south of I-44. Please, go slow. Give yourself a lot of extra time no matter where you got to get to. And know that it's already slick out there. We'll be back. Wrap up this edition of the KOM Morning News on Fox 14 right after this.
Welcome back to the KOM Morning News on Fox 14. Here's what's happening today. Joplin police say emergency road conditions are in effect, meaning Joplin officers will not respond to non-emergency accidents. And many school districts have canceled classes for today, including in Joplin, Carthage, Webb City, Pittsburgh, and dozens more. Tomorrow, the Senate is expected to begin the impeachment trial of former President Donald Trump. 17 Republicans would have to join Democrats to convict Mr. Trump considered an unlikely outcome. He faces a single charge of incitement of insurrection in the aftermath of the deadly Capitol Hill riot on January 6th. And George Shultz, who served more than 6 years as President Ronald Reagan's Secretary of State, has died. Shultz, who worked to improve relations with the Soviet Union in the 1980s, was the longest-serving Secretary of State since World War II. George Shultz was 100 years old. Let's check in with Michael and look at the weather.
Once again, bottom of your screen, that's going to be the complete list of closings throughout the course of our morning. And of course, we'll continue to update those. And it's not only schools, also organizations and businesses, as we've got a winter weather advisory stretching all the way until this evening. That's an elongated affair for one of those winter weather advisories, as our temperatures are just going to be extremely cold, all the way below the freezing point for the rest of the week. Want to thank you so much for letting us put the good in your morning. Of course, we'll be back with more news and weather when we see you at noon.
Have a great morning and an even better day.